We're back at 7:30 here in the Magic Kingdom of Disney World, an otherworldly kind of place, not totally unlike the world of politics, especially as concerns the character of Goofy. Today, national political correspondent Catherine Couric in this half hour is going to have a look at the governor's race here in Florida in just a few moments, one in which a millionaire is campaigning against big money and a former Democrat is the Republican incumbent. If you're confused, stick around. Katie will clear it up. Let's get back to New York right now. Deborah Norville has a look at what else is ahead. Deb?
Okie doke, Bryant. In just a few minutes, we'll be talking with a former official of the KGB. Oleg Gordievsky made big news when he defected to the West about 5 years ago, and he is making big news again. He's published a book about KGB operations, and among other things, he names the man whom he believes to have been the fifth man. Also coming up this morning, Gene Shalit will be talking with Jeremy Irons. He's playing Klaus von Bülow in a new movie that's coming out called Reversal of Fortune. First, though, at about 7:31, Faith Daniels has a look at the news and the crisis on the budget in Washington.
You betcha. Thanks, Deborah. Congress will be back at it today, trying to turn two budget agreements into one. During the night, the Senate passed its version, one that differs sharply from the one passed by the House. The Senate plan would double the federal tax on gasoline to 18 cents a gallon. It would limit itemized deductions for people earning more than $100,000 a year, but it does not touch tax rates. Now it's up to a conference committee to work out the differences. Earlier on today, House Speaker Tom Foley told Deborah there are tough choices ahead.
It involves some increased burden sharing throughout the entire economy. We hope it would be mostly tilted to the higher income groups and not to the middle class in the Democratic version. But it will involve some additional effort on all but the most disadvantaged elements in our community. And the other problem, of course, is that some restrictions on services will have to be part of this package. It's not pleasant, not what people want to do, but it's necessary.
Congress will now try to beat the midnight deadline for coming up with a final budget package. But the White House says the president may sign another temporary spending measure to keep the government in business if Congress is making real progress on the budget. In Moscow, the Soviet parliament this morning gave its basic approval to switching to a market economy. Not decided yet is how soon the switch will take place. President Bush will get a briefing on the Persian Gulf crisis from the Soviet perspective this morning. He'll meet with Soviet advisor Yevgeny Primakov, who met with officials in Baghdad earlier this month. Utility crews are still working to restore power from Virginia to New England after some violent weather on Thursday. Tornadoes broke windows, down trees, and tore off rooftops. One man in Virginia was killed. Dozens of people outside Baltimore were hurt. Stormy weather also hit Washington, D.C., triggering a leak and a flood at the U.S. Capitol. Statues in the Capitol Rotunda had to put on a plastic overcoat. Charles Keating, the former head of the failed Lincoln Savings and Loan, is out of jail this morning for the first time in a month. During the night, Keating was released from the Los Angeles County Jail after his family posted bond. Hours earlier, a judge had lowered bond from $5 million to $300,000. Keating is awaiting trial on fraud charges. It's Game 3 of the World Series tonight in Oakland, with the Reds leading the A's 2-0. Tom Browning will be on the mound for Cincinnati. Mike Moore for Oakland. And in Thursday night football, it was Miami beating New England. Dolphins down the Patriots 17-10 to improve to 5-1 on the season. The Patriots, having a rough year, fell to 1-5. It is coming up on 7:34. Time now for Willard and the weather in Florida.
This morning's weather brought to you by Maxwell House Coffee. Always good to the last drop.
Hey, Bill and I just knocked off 2 gallons of that Maxwell House coffee. That is just number one then, number one now. One of the nicest ladies in the whole wide world. When I was Bozo the Clown, I used to go over to her house when her little children were just little kids. And Art Buckwall rode an elephant, and I was out there. Well, but naturally for Democrats, what do you think they're going to ride, right? They're going to ride the Republicans. They're still doing it. But anyway, Ethel Kennedy sent this, a great T-shirt, this weekend in Hyannis. They're having a golf tournament, the Robert F. Kennedy, a golf tournament for the humanities. So you check that out and have a good time. Hope the weather holds for you. Hope it's the best in the business. Couple of birthdays to take a look, if you will, this morning. We're in Maitland, Florida, where the Rotary Club is doing its thing, and Sylvia Updikes in Craig, Colorado, she is 100 years old doing her thing. That is a pretty lady. Happy birthday to you. And Nels Berger of Williston, North Dakota. I'm telling you, those Norwegians and Danes and Swedes live forever. 105 years old today. Happy birthday. And I'm telling you, look, Bill, he looks better than you do, that guy. And he's 105. You're only what? You're 72 now, aren't
I
you?
was 28 when I started this.
That's right. Waiting for this interview. Yeah. Saturday's Outlook. Look for some showers in the nation's midsection and the upper plain states, and also some snow flurries in the northern Rockies and the northern plains. That rain will be moving its way. That's that Pacific storm that moved ashore yesterday with a lot of rain in the Mississippi Valley, but mostly sunny skies on both coasts. Just delightful weather. Here's what's happening in your world even as we speak.
Our cool weather influence continues today. Sunny and brisk by about noontime. North wind at 10 and 65 degrees. High pressure dominates. Fair skies, delightfully cool at sunset, and 66 degrees. Hope you enjoy your day.
Thank you, Bill, for that interview. Now back. No, we got Bill Sherm is the chairman of the Maitland Arts Festival, and this is 14 years for you, right?
This is the 14th one, yes, sir.
Incredible. And how did it all get underway? The Rotary Club, just somebody come up with that idea?
They were looking for a community event and a way to raise funds for our charities, and of course, all the funds are donated to the local charities.
How much money do you get? I understand as many as 200,000 people. What kind of money do you get from this?
Oh, we're hoping 20 or 25,000 to give
That's
away.
great. And who gets the money?
We've got about 14 local charities that we donate the funds to.
And everything volunteer, right?
Everything volunteer.
So
all that we can get.
All the money. Well, I'm available.
We'll need you.
I'll serve those pancakes. Okay, thank you. Bill Sherm, who's chairman of the Maitland Arts Festival. Brian, come on over. I know that you're at a Mickey Mouse operation, but you've worked for one for 10 years, so what's new?
Willard, here in the Sunshine State, the race for governor is being watched by experts nationwide who consider it a good gauge of just how fed up the voters really are. Today's national correspondent Katie Couric is with us this morning from our bureau in Miami to give us a glimpse of what's up. Good morning, Katie.
Good morning, Brian. In one corner, Democrat Lawton Chiles, a political legend in this state. But in 1988, after 18 years in the U.S. Senate, he shocked his supporters when he announced he would not seek re-election because of burnout and frustration with Capitol Hill. In the other corner, Republican Governor Bob Martinez, who sailed into the State House 4 years ago, but immediately hit some rough seas and at one point was considered politically washed up. Whoever wins this match could be crowned the comeback kid.
Holy Moses, how the years flew. Holy moly, how the kids grew. All the savings that we went through to move to Florida.
An old-timers barbershop quartet and a $5 a plate chicken dinner. Lawton Chiles' recipe for drumming up support.
Will you go out there and win just one more for the Gipper?
An influential old-timer and a barbecue at $1,500 a plate. A political fundraiser a la Bob Martinez. This election is as much a referendum on modern politics as it is a race between two candidates. The Chiles style first emerged when he walked across the Sunshine State while running for the U.S. Senate in 1970. Now Walkin' Lawton is back with his low-key, low-budget brand of populism and some harsh words for politics as usual.
I think you have to run the right way, and that's why we've limited contributions to $100. We're not taking any PAC money. People are more important than money. And if the people want to respond to that, we'll be able to lead.
But taking a small contribution, you're not obligated to do favors for anybody.
It's a people campaign, a common people campaign.
It's less than a month until Election Day, and Lawton Chiles is spending hours talking tangerines with a handful of citrus researchers, talking city government with the mayor of Orlando. Meanwhile, Martinez is all over the map.
Good to see you again.
Good morning. How you doing?
Providing pictures for local newscasts and outspending his opponent 3-1.
I've been to 67 counties. I have shaken hands in every corner of this state, which he hasn't. He claims now he wants to learn about government. It's a little late, isn't it?
But as governor, Bob Martinez himself has learned some hard lessons.
Bob Martinez, there's no doubt we are going to vote you out.
His call last year for a special session to restrict abortion in the state was considered a major miscalculation. So was his support for a controversial service tax early in his term. So controversial, he reversed himself.
That mistake has cost me the confidence of the people of Florida.
Still hounded by that flip-flop at a high negative rating, he's decided politics means having to say you're sorry.
I know I've made mistakes. You've told me I've disappointed you sometimes. I've listened and I've learned.
I've never met a politician who hasn't made mistakes, but I've never met one that admitted them. and that's why I did it.
He admitted it, he made a mistake, he changed it, and he went on, and he didn't quit. And Lawton Chiles quit as a senator.
That has some voters worried about the stamina of the Democratic contender.
He dropped out and he says he's a new man, but I think I'd have to take that with a grain of salt.
And while Chiles admits he uses the antidepressant drug Prozac, Martinez hasn't made it an issue. If he does, it may backfire, and he says everyone knows it. Martinez briefly aired this misleading ad attacking Chiles' voting record, but has, for the most part, been running slick, warm, and fuzzy commercials that try to soften his image.
Now we have twin granddaughters.
And portray him as an outsider, not an incumbent, these days a political liability. The strategy seems to be working. 6 months ago, Martinez trailed Chiles by 28 points in the polls. Today, it's too close to call.
Martinez was one of the most unpopular politicians ever, according to the polls. And now he's made a complete turnaround, in part because of his money and in part because of the lassitude of the Democrats.
They just aren't doing enough.
They think they are.
His basic campaign theme is, I'm Lawton Chiles and I'm running for governor. Well, gosh, that's great, Lawton. What you going to do for us? No, you weren't listening. I'm Lawton Chiles and I'm running for governor, and you ought to thank your lucky stars.
Chiles says their differences will become clear in a debate, which he claims Martinez has been dodging.
That's not voiceover. It's not some slick TV. It's a mano mano. You know, we've got an old Florida cracker saying that crackers don't want a dog that won't fight.
And Chiles is beginning to growl. Though he pledged to stay away from negative ads, his latest one attacks his opponent's legacy without naming names. Fair game, Chiles insists. And though he at first felt uncomfortable distinguishing himself as an abortion rights candidate, he's starting to speak out on the issue that could prove pivotal in the race. Even Lawton Chiles has had to make some concessions, but he insists his basic approach will not change, nor will his message.
If it doesn't get across, it's seeds that we're planting, and I feel good about it. They will ripen. They may not ripen by November, but that's all right.
And if they don't ripen by November, that's all right with Bob Martinez, because he will become the first Republican governor ever reelected in the state of Florida. Bryant?
Katie, thanks very much. Have yourself a good weekend, will you?
Thank you.
Coming up on 7:43, up next, an insider's look at the workings of the KGB. We'll get to that in a moment, right after this.